All right. Hello, hello. If you are new to my channel, thank you for joining me. Hopefully, the messages here have something for you, and if they do not, I hope you do find or discover what you are looking for elsewhere. If you are returning, thanks for returning to my channel. I really appreciate it. This is going to be a reading for the sign of Gemini for the month of April of 2023. I'm going to start off with dice, then move to astrology cards, and then tarot after that. All right. So we've got the 1 and the 6. I definitely think there's a lot of self here. And I feel like there's a lot of balance coming to the self, or a lot of equilibrium attempting to be reached. This could be needing to balance something out. This could be something naturally becoming balanced out. But I do feel like there is a bit of like weighing something out in particular. Once again, I really think this is about the self. I'm not saying that it can't involve anybody else, but this feels solely very individual based. Because behind the 6, I can see the 1, and behind the 1, I can see the 6. So at the heart of this situation is yourself. And I feel like you've either been trying to rationalize something, trying to balance something out, or if you've been feeling of two minds about a thing, I think you're finding some sort of common narrative in there, or some sort of balanced and fair judgment to be reached. So with that being said, let's start with the astrology cards. So 1, 6, or 7 is going to be very important to you this month. I do think that there's some challenges that could be present, but I think overall the challenge is in finding the balance, or maintaining the balance, I should say. So let's see what we've got going on. Not more astrology cards than anybody else, but I will take every single one. I think there's a lot on your mind. I also think there's kind of a lot going on. Okay, the heart of this is Juno, which usually is representative of partnership, but it also can be representative of jealousy. Because there can be a lot of pent-up feelings there. We also have the 10th house. We have the IC, which is the root in our chart. It is on the opposite side of our MC, or our midheaven. We have the 11th house. We also have the 7th house. And we have Aries in the reverse. So there definitely is a need to not really act on anything right now. Oh, thank you.
I found one in your cat.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
It was in my junk drawer.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. I saw it, and then I said, oh. And then I just walked right in.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for bringing that to me. I'll see you in a little bit, okay? Maybe you can work. Okay. I'll see you in a little bit. All right. Sorry about that. Let the little ones. Anyway, So I definitely think there's a lot of support that can be found around you right now. And while the seventh house usually is representative of relationship itself, it can often be about the important relationships that we feel committed to or people. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It's become incredibly tied to romantic relationships. But I've often found that most of the time the connections that I have that fall in my seventh house are people that I feel incredibly committed to, even if I am not in a romantic relationship with them. That can be family, that can be friends, that can be businesses, it can be business partnerships. Um, but it seems like a lot of this has to do with maybe needing to lean on your support systems right now because you're dealing with so much that has to do with something that is at the root of your chart, which usually falls pretty close to the fourth house cusp. So a lot of it has to do with our origin points or our origin story. So you may be looking at these things, you may be needing help or assistance in these areas. You may be dealing with how to regain a sense of control in your life, whether that is a sense of control over yourself or a sense of control over relationships or situations that you're involved in. But I think that you're going to have support or assistance in these areas, that's for sure. I think there's definitely a need to lean on those support systems if you're not utilizing them, because in some ways, you could be coming to terms with something that has its heaviness. And I think, too, that's why there's a really important aspect of, with Aries being in the reverse, not acting on this right now. Like it feels like you're being withheld or held back from acting on it, or that you need to reconsider acting on it at this time. Because I feel like the energy is a little misguided right now, or just not there. Like maybe what you're dealing with, like the heaviness around it or the tension around it is just so much that really you need to be leaning on your support systems and not so much trying to do much of anything. It's almost like allowing people to help you, or allowing people to be there, or allowing people to be present in a way that isn't exhausting of your resources, but giving back to you. You got a lot of reversals. Yeah, definitely do not act right now. Do not act on anything because this is all reversals, baby. Okay. Knight of Pentacles in the reverse. Like I said, there's a lot of misguided energy here, but there also is a lot in terms of taking pause. The only two cards you have in the upright are going to be the Four of Swords and the Tower card. So I feel like there is a force to be reconciled with here, or there is a force of nature, quite literally, that could be taking place in your life. Maybe there's important realizations that you're having or that you will be having this month. But I feel like this month is all about rest. I think that this month is going to be about really healing or re-examining something, because there is a lot around finding the truth in the pain, or finding truth in the discomfort of whatever it is that you're healing from. And that's why I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of support around you that you need to be utilizing, especially within your friend groups. Because it's almost like either your friends can create like networking opportunities in order to connect you to the things that you need most in your life right now, or they can connect you to things that ultimately will help you heal. These can be healing conversations. Like I said, they can be connecting you to resources that you can utilize, but it feels like it's an energy of things that can be given to you. Like I don't think there needs to be much of an energy output right now. So really conserve your energy. Because I think if you try to push, or if you try to do something, or if you try to like move something forward, or if you really try to like boom, like get something done, I really think that there's going to be this like conflict, or there quite literally could be something that happens to get you to stop. But like I said, all these cards are in the reverse except for the Four of Swords and the Tower. So, excuse me, we've got the Nine of Wands in reverse. Oh, let me back up. My bad. So our first two cards are going to be the Four of Swords and the Queen of Swords in reverse. Once again, lots of time thinking, lots of time healing. Whatever this pain is or whatever it is that you're coming into contact with or having recognition or realization of, I think it's really showing you two different things here, right? Where boundaries were not applied and where boundaries should be applied, and maybe rearranging how that's done. Because oftentimes when the Queen of Swords is in the upright, the way that she approaches things is because she protects herself from painful things that she's been through, right? Like she's learned the hard way. She really has. So the way that she communicates and the way that she does things is very different. There's not a lot of room for emotion because maybe her having that emotional connection or that emotional sensitivity has gotten her into trouble or gotten her into a position where her passive nature ultimately led her to being hurt. Remove gender from this too, because even if it's showing up as a feminine card, it doesn't have to be a female. It can be a male. It's more about the energy that you reside in. For example, I am 70% fire, so I operate way more in a masculine energy than I do a feminine. But I feel like you're re-examining a lot of things, and I feel like you're coming to terms with a lot of things. And so in some ways, I feel like maybe you're not speaking up as much, but at the same time, maybe the internalizing of all these things is creating a bit of a whirlwind. It can create a lot of realization for you, but I think that's why it's like there's so much energy of like leaning on your support systems or talking things out with people or creating these conversations or having these conversations to find an answer or to discover an answer. You don't necessarily have to be seeking it, but I feel like the answer will find you. And I just feel like parts of you are exhausted with the Nine of Wands in reverse, with the Six of Pentacles in reverse. Like I think you're being exhausted or you are experiencing this exhaustion from the amount of output that you've been putting out or the amount of things you've been doing or the amount of time and energy you've been giving or the amount of yourself that you extend to everybody else. So it really feels like it's a need to recover because I think you're fucking exhausted. And I mean, someone in your environment could be exhausting you as well. Or particular people in your life could be exhausting you. And this may be an energy of like trying to figure out how to create a boundary in those areas without starting a fight, because then we have the Five of Swords in reverse with the Two of Swords in reverse. I think that it's almost like you haven't really been speaking up on these things because you haven't really wanted to create tension or you haven't wanted to create an argument. But at the same time, I'm almost like, it feels like you haven't wanted to make a decision either. Or you're refusing to see something. And if this isn't you, you can apply it to, another person in your life. This doesn't always have to be your energy, but we have a lot of air here, so like this is very fitting of Gemini. But at this, at the end of the day, the way that I can really see this is that the argument is not worth it. Because I think you're starting to realize with the Devil card in the reverse that these arguments that you've been involved in are these like altercations, which can be verbal or not. These things that you've been battling or you've been struggling with, it's almost like these people or these communications, they bring it out of you, or these people or these communications, they exacerbate it in some way. And that's when, like, with the IC there with the root, there actually is an issue that needs to be addressed within you in order to heal this, or in order to fix this, or in order to let this go. I was actually having a conversation with somebody this morning about this very thing where I was like, relationship readings are really hard because oftentimes when someone is asking what's going on with somebody else, really what's coming up is what needs to be paid attention within the person asking the question. Because 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with the other person and it has everything to do with you. And if you're not good, you cannot expect to have a healthy or successful relationship with this experience. And sometimes even if you are good, there's stuff that the other person needs to work on and it's not fucking personal. Like, it's not personal. You just have to let it go sometimes and be a little more fluid. And so it's very challenging. But I think a lot of this stuff that you've been dealing with is either addiction based, whether that is drugs, sex, mental obsession, power plays within your environment. So maybe there's been some abuse going on, or there's been abusive situations that you've been dealing with. And I think this is what you're healing from. And I think that as you're healing from this, it's almost becoming easier for you to just not fucking engage in it at all. And that might be scary because it might be what's bringing the tower in. It might be what's changing your perspective on things, or what's kind of like breaking apart the things in your life that either you had depended on in the past, or had been a part of your foundation, or a part of your life for such a long time. And those things may be falling away, or they may be crumbling away because this isn't what you're supposed to be tied to anymore. And I feel like too, with a lot of these situations, even if it's just one in particular, I feel like you expended so much energy on trying to fix this, or trying to apply the balm, or trying to like apply the salve, where it's like it's not for you to fix. It's not for you to fix, especially if it comes to another person. That's not for you to fix. Fix yourself. Work on your own stuff. And if you are in a very unhealthy situation, or if you are in a situation that is troublesome, why are you attached to it? Why are you pushing the boundary with it? Why are you towing the line with it? Let it go. Let it go. And lean on the support systems around you, because there is community here. There is resources here. I feel like now is the time to actually lean into being supported and stop trying to do so much. Especially with this, stop trying to do so much. This is a time for you to heal. This is a time for you to reconcile with who you are, what you've done, what's happened, what's transpired around you. It's time to come to terms with it, and it's time to work through it, and it's time to really like heal from it. Even if there isn't anything you've done, right? Like, there can be guilt around things that you participated in, or around how long you've let something go on, or around how long you've allowed something to take place, or resisting the changes even. But like I said, this has everything to do with you with that one. This has everything to do with you. Stop giving to things that don't give back. Stop giving to things that just want to fucking suck the life out of you. Even if it's your own thoughts. Even if it has nothing to do with a physical person. And like really work on healing yourself. Because there's no room for aggression, possession, control. There's no room for that here. And if that's not you doing that, and you're experiencing that for another person still, or from another person still, like, get away. There's no room for that. And if you won't end it, something will come in. And it will wipe the slate clean, and it will get rid of it. I feel like this is so tied to the energy of last month, because I feel like in last month's reading, I was like, cut it off. If it's not healthy for you, cut it off. If it's not good for you, cut it off. Do not entertain it. If it's hurting you, cut it off. If it's not working with you, cut it off. So let's look at the overall outcome for the month of April. You have all of the resources around you to help you. You have community. And if you don't have community right now, find it. You will find it. But like, seek healing. Seek what it is that you need within yourself and let the past go. With judgment, let the past go. There really is something that is attempting to be wrapped up. And I feel like this wheel is not going to turn until you've dealt with this. I said in that Four of Swords, the Three of Swords was the most important thing in that card, and it's right here. Until you deal with the pain and the heartache and the emotional stuff of like suffering, whether it's through your choices or another person's, until you deal with that and you come to terms with that stuff, you're going to be stuck. Or you're going to feel stuck. I should say that, because life is always moving. Life is continuing to move, but sometimes it'll grind to a halt to make us sit and go, okay, there's big decisions that need to be made here. I can feel it. And I think the decision to be made here is to give yourself some love and give yourself some support. And be there for the connections that are in your life that are there to support you. I mean, even with Juno here, Juno is like the soulmate card, which, once again, soulmates can be anything. It can be a fucking dog. It can be a cat. It can be a lizard. It can be, anything that's a pet. It could be a friend. It could be a family member. But lean on, this is often the card of soulmates, lean on those people in your life who are here to help you heal. Right? If there is a symbiotic relationship in your life where there's this healing influence that's being applied back and forth, lean on that shit. But if somebody brings out the worst in you, or if you bring out the worst in someone else, it's just showing you what needs to heal. So get to it. All right, my lovely Geminis. Hopefully that was helpful. I definitely see a lot of support around you guys if you will let it in this month. Once again, if you will let it in. Because sometimes we like hyper focus or hyper fixate on like a very particular kind of support that we feel we want or need, but there's all this other stuff that's sitting there tapping on our shoulder being like, will you let me support you? And we're just like, no, because I want it from this specific thing. Lean on the support. Utilize your community resources. Utilize the people around you that are supportive. Because it's time. It's time. You must bring balance back into your life. All right, Gemini. I'll see you guys next time.